Hello, good to see you, good to see you. Thought I'd just pop back in and have a quick chat about a couple of books I've been reading recently. First one was this one, which is called The Solar War. Now, after I read through the 5 or 6 or so of the Black Library, I then started on these. These are the Siege of Terra books. So, in essence, the war, right, is going on. Right, sorry. The war is going on, and they have working their way towards Terra, towards the final confrontation, if you will, with the Emperor. So the corrupted War Master and all of his troops are starting then to attack Terra. And this one, which is the Solar War, expands quite a bit on the actual attack just within the sort of the solar systems, and there's a whole lot in there about it's more that connection with chaos and the warp, and there's some battles going on with that, and the idea you sort of end up with a character that you know from previous books, I won't spoil, who is in this one as well, and you track them forward through the story. And then there's kind of a bit of a reveal towards the end, which is a bit sad, but there is a reveal at the end, which kind of makes you rethink a little bit about the whole saga that you saw up until that point with that particular character. Then, so finished that one. That was quite good, a little bit sad. And then I moved on to this one, which is The Lost and the Damned. And this is actually on Terra itself. It's actually, they've broken through, they're starting to fire onto the planet side itself, about halfway through, a little bit over halfway through. And it's really quite fascinating, this one. There's a lot more sort of character development. There's inclusion of different characters that you hadn't actually seen before, I hadn't seen before, and that have like a sort of, there's a historical root to those characters as well, that's perhaps older than the sorts of traditional view of man and the warp even potentially. So there's subtle underplays that I'm discovering perhaps in this. Also, one of the major characters that you see in the book is this guy Sanguinus. And he seems quite a really awesome character and quite interesting and a little bit complex. But they're deliberately teasing his character as it goes through, because there's obviously something that's going to happen quite major perhaps with that character. The whole battle for Terra is quite exciting. There's a whole lot going on. There's all shields, and the shields are being bombed, and then there's the ships that are firing and fighting at each other, and then there's the War Masters, sort of more chaos forces, and they're attacking. And so there is a lot, again, very densely packed with a lot of story in there, and there's a little bit of morality that is discussed as well, like the once men. There's creatures who used to be people, and then they've slowly over time become part animal and part person, and they get rejected basically out of society. So yeah, so they fight in this battle as well, and without spoiling the story, that is quite an interesting sort of moral point to take with regards to it. But a very interesting book. But I am, as said, I'm very interested in the actual end take as to what happens with Sanguinus guy. So I have a feeling that's, as said, that's going to be quite significant. And so yes, really good stories, these ones. Fully recommend the Siege of Terra, part of the Horus Heresy sort of storyline. So they're all attacking Terra, they're all attacking the Emperor, and yeah, it's not looking so good for the Emperor at the moment. He's a bit stuck, and the War Master seems to be making ground. Although the way the War Master is treating a lot of his people who are fighting for him, you do kind of wonder if, well, he's not been nice to them. So are they going to turn on him, or are they just going to blindly, keep going forwards, because that's what he's kind of asking them to do? Great stories. I thought I'd introduce those to you and my thoughts on them. Have a fantastic day. Hey, Coretta.